You are Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, that's more like it. Welcome on in to your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys, I'm watching myself there. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP as the Denver Nuggets crush the Los Angeles Clippers. Your final score, 120-98. You absolutely love to see it. We'll break it all down for you here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. But guys, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides you the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. The Nuggets hit gold tonight. They went for gold tonight, man. I mean, that was a heck of an effort, against a team that's been the thorn in their side throughout the course of the season. Denver's defensive intensity was present throughout the game tonight. They shot the ball pretty well tonight, all things considered. And you love to see it as Denver now, they're not fully streaking, right? But they're on a nice little 2-game winning streak here. And one of the themes that we'll kind of dive into today on your Locked On Nuggets postcast is how much did the rest benefit the Denver Nuggets, right? They didn't play, what was that game against Atlanta on Sunday? I think it was on Sunday, right? Because they played on Saturday, if I remember correctly. Feels like forever ago. But clearly, Denver came out tonight with a rejuvenated effort, just plenty of juice, plenty of energy, and they get the job done here in pretty dominant fashion, as I mentioned, 120-98. We'll talk a lot about Russell Westbrook. We'll talk a lot about Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. You know who the guy we might not talk a ton about tonight is? Nikola Jokic, because Nikola Jokic did not have to put the team on his back tonight. Obviously, he had a good game, but, not that 50-point effort in the loss to Washington. What did he score? 46, I believe, against Atlanta in the follow-up game there as well. So, when it's all said and done, man, good effort collectively from everybody on the team tonight, which is what they needed because Nikola Jokic had been shouldering the load for this Denver Nuggets team throughout the course of the season, and in particular the last few weeks. I mean, just looking at the stats here, guys, I mean, they did a really good job tonight, did the Denver Nuggets. I mean, defensively, they were all over the place. I know that, the Clippers, did their thing there at spurts, but for the most part, they shot awful in the first half from three-point land. And maybe it was an off shooting night for Los Angeles, but I also think it's a combination of that mixed with Denver's rest, mixed with the fact that the Denver Nuggets has played absolutely incredible defense. We got a comment here. As always, guys, drop your comments on the host of the show, but you, the fans out there, are the ones that help me drive the conversation. Glad the Nuggets won without Jokic looking like Superman. Turnovers were dreadful, but definite progress. Absolutely. The turnovers were the one element of the game tonight where you kind of had to close your eyes there a little bit of sloppy play from Denver. But, like I said, let's dive into these stats tonight from the box score, because it was really nice to see Nikola Jokic not have a night off necessarily, but get real support from his teammates tonight. I mean, Nikola Jokic tonight, that doesn't seem right. My ESPN is down. Hold on. Where are you, Mr. Joker? 16 points tonight for the Joker, 7 rebounds and 2 assists for Nikola Jokic in the victory tonight. So, he doesn't even score 20 points. Is that the first game this season that Nikola Jokic has scored less than 20 points? Only a couple of assists, 7 rebounds, right? Didn't even get a double-double tonight. That's usually like minus 1,000 odds. And that's because his teammates really did a good job of picking him up. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. in particular. Jamal finishes with 20 points. First time we've seen him get to 20 in quite some time. And remember, he missed a couple of games as well due to some injury here recently. Michael Porter Jr. added 17 points of his own. Aaron Gordon had 14 points. Christian Brown had 8 points, right? But you also got some real contributions off of the bench in the scoring department. Like I said, we'll talk a lot about Russell Westbrook in the second half of the show, but let's talk a little Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson as well, man. Straw put up 12 points tonight. Peyton Watson put up 14 points. So a lot to be happy about with the overall body of work that you saw from the Denver Nuggets tonight. A lot of contributions from a lot of different guys, which has not been the norm for this Denver Nuggets team throughout the course of the season, quite frankly. They shot just under 55% from the field, 42 for 77 tonight. They shot 35% from three, essentially 10 for 29. Los Angeles finished with a 34.1% from three, but they hit some of those threes late in this game as well, because Denver, specifically in the first half, did a really good job of clamping down on that three-point line. I mean, the Clippers were absolutely dreadful. I saw a couple of tweets going around on social media too, talking about how the Clippers were shooting from three in the first half like the Nuggets have shot from three all throughout the course of the season. And I definitely think that's accurate. But again, I think it's a testament to Denver's defense and what they're able to do tonight. Now, again, the question is, was that the result of having, multiple days off, 3+ days off leading up to this game? Or was that the result of Michael Malone getting through to his players and Denver, hopefully flipping a switch tonight? The first time in a minute they've had their true starting five back out there as well. So, all in all, it's a victory show. Two of those bad boys in a row. And you cannot be too upset with the overall outcome of the game tonight, despite the turnovers, which were pretty sloppy. Denver did have 21 turnovers tonight, which you don't like to see, but 58 points in the paint. They had 23 assists. They out-rebounded the Clippers by more than 10, 46-31. And, that's what they're supposed to do. Clean the glass, not allow second chance points. I'm sure Michael Malone is really happy about how his team was able to rebound those long three-point shots. He's always getting on about, well, when you shoot long, the rebound's likely coming off the iron long. Why is everybody staying in the paint, or hawking under the basket like that? So Michael Malone speaking with the media right now. I'm sure he's pretty pleased with the Denver Nuggets performance tonight. But go ahead and drop some comments, guys. Let me know how you're feeling out there as the Denver Nuggets take care of business against the Los Angeles Clippers. Your final score, 120-98. The Clippers have got the best of Denver in their first two meetings so far this season. And so nice to see Denver get a little bit of a bounce back win there against a team that they've struggled with. And collectively, across the board tonight, not a whole lot shaken for the Clippers on offense, if we're just being completely honest with ourselves here. I mean, Zubac's had 13 points. They limit James Harden to only 15 points, which is great. Norman Powell, who's having a career year, and I think he scored, 30-plus points in their earlier matchup this season at home, if I remember correctly. He only had 16 points tonight. Nick Batum had 6 points. Chris Dunn had 7 points. So Denver did a really good job of limiting the Los Angeles Clippers starting five tonight in the scoring department. I mean, Los Angeles didn't even shoot 50% from the field. They finished, hold on. These two stats are telling me something different. One website is telling me that the Clippers shot 37 for 83. Okay, no, it looks like it's updated now. Now they're both telling me the same thing. I'm getting confused there for a second. But like I said, you got to feel happy with the overall defensive intensity that the Denver Nuggets brought tonight, because holding teams to under 100 points, that has been a trademark of the Denver Nuggets, or, low 100s, whatever it might be. That has been the signature of a Michael Malone-led Denver Nuggets team when they're in their prime. So talking about last year and the year before as well. They do a really good job of bringing the intensity on the defensive end of the floor, which opens things up for them on offense. They can get out and run the fast break points. We all know how it goes. That looked like a Denver Nuggets team. I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but that's what you want to see on a consistent basis with this organization moving forward, because if they can play like that, and if they can get contributions from Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther off the bench in a consistent fashion, they might just have a chance. Now, is that wishful thinking? Is that living on a prayer? Is that going to be the new norm with Jokic coming up? Only time will tell. If you're a regular listener to the show, I've told you how I'm personally waiting until we get to the new year to kind of cast firm judgment on what this Denver Nuggets team will be. So we've got about 2.5-ish weeks until we get to that start of 2025. And then I think we could be a little bit more critical, get a real gauge, a real feel for what this team and this organization is going to be throughout the course of this season. But tonight is one to celebrate as the Denver Nuggets get the job done, 120-98, your final score. All right, let me hit my first break, guys. When we come back, we will continue along with the conversation. Let me know your thoughts. Who was your player of the game? What was your moment of the game? What were you most excited about with the outcome tonight? Let me know in the comments. We'll go back and forth when we come back right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Stick with me, folks. Back in just a moment. And real quick, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Robinhood Gold, because With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms they do apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. But guys, it is the new gold standard. Be sure to check out our friends over at Robinhood. Sign up now at Robinhood.com/gold and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. I know you can't tell, but I am broadcasting live from the friendly confines that is Ball Arena following the Denver Nuggets 120-98 final victory over the Los Angeles Clippers. You absolutely love to see it. And do me a favor, guys, if you're liking the show, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And for any of you listening on the Locked On Nuggets podcast feed, make sure to come on over to YouTube. You can watch the show live. You can also watch it after the fact on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. I see we got a comment here about their next 3 games coming up. We'll get into that towards the end of the show because I do think you make a great point here. We'll save those thoughts. But Russell Westbrook, man. Let's talk a little Russell Westbrook. Let's talk a little Brody tonight because while his stats don't necessarily jump off the sheet for you tonight, 5 points, the 5 assists are nice and a rebound. He did play 24 minutes. If you watch the game with your own 2 eyes, you saw the intensity and the energy that Russell Westbrook brought to the floor tonight. And that ultimately, I think, was the difference maker. You know, that on top of the fact that you got significant contributions from Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. And Russell Westbrook, 6 teams in 6 years, I think is what we're kind of at now with Russell Westbrook, right? Oklahoma City, Houston, Washington, Lakers, Clippers, and now the Nuggets. Yeah, I believe all 6 of those teams coming in the last 6 years. So he's bounced around quite a bit. He's fitting in well with this team. Russell Westbrook is absolutely, positively fitting in very well with this Denver Nuggets team. And I think that's reason to be excited, as you kind of move forward into the course of this season, because there were 2 major moves that Denver made during the offseason. Russell Westbrook and Dario Saric. And I don't even know if you want to say the jury's still out on Dario Saric because I think we've kind of seen, by him not playing, what kind of the opinion on Dario Saric is with this team. You had DeAndre Jordan tonight getting some significant run by his standards. He finished with 14 minutes. He had 4 points, 9 rebounds off the bench. So DeAndre Jordan with a nice night, a couple of assists as well. But you see that when Denver needs a jolt and when they need that energy, that is exactly what Russell Westbrook is here to do. I saw Locked On Nuggets podcast host Swipecam talking about it on Twitter that in the third quarter and really collectively throughout the course of the game, whichever Clipper was being defended by Russell Westbrook was essentially in prison. I mean, and that's part of the reason why, the Clippers failed to get to 100 points tonight. Obviously, good defense across the board. I thought Jamal was good on defense. His defense has been pretty good this season for Jamal. The question with Jamal is his offense. And tonight, thankfully, he scores 20 points. You like to see him up the ante just a little bit more. But, hopefully a sign of things to come. Hopefully this gets him back on the right track, build some confidence. But for Russell Westbrook tonight, man, it's just one of those moments where, he's had maybe a handful of pretty, ugly games, I guess you could say. But for the most part, I think the body of work for Russell Westbrook so far with the Denver Nuggets is pretty good. And like I said, he's a guy that when he's in the game, coming off the bench, even substituting as a starter when Jamal's been out, he brings something that this team is lacking. Look, Jokic is not the vocal leader, right? But Russell Westbrook, while he's still, new to the team, hasn't even played a full season with the organization yet, he is, kind of emerging as and he's a veteran, right? He's a former MVP, he's a future NBA Hall of Famer, so you kind of come to expect this to a certain extent. But the way that Russell Westbrook has been able to assert himself and gain the respect of guys like Peyton Watson and Christian Brown and Julian Strother, I think you saw in particular in a microcosm tonight really pay dividends for the Denver Nuggets tonight. So shout out to Russell Westbrook, man. Like I said, he doesn't really stuff the stat sheet. Excuse me. Only 5 points tonight, but your eyes tell you a different story because defensively he had the Clippers on clamps tonight, man. If you ever play NBA 2K, he had Hall of Fame clamps badge on tonight. That's kind of the best way that I could sum it up. I got a couple of comments here. I looked at Jokic's stats, and this was his worst overall game except for October. Everyone did their part, so he didn't have to carry them. That's a good sign. Now, it is one game, Sarah. It is one game, but I agree with you. If we're looking at it just for tonight, 100%. 100%. This is a good outcome for the Denver Nuggets because you got those contributions from Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and Russell Westbrook and Julian Strother and Peyton Watson. Now, the question is, can they keep this going? Because that's the thing is Denver's had a couple of quarters, for the most part, I thought their defense, it's been up and down, but they have a quarter here where they're locked in, dialed, limiting teams, bad three-point shooting for the opposition. And then there's other quarters where it's Olay, right? The team's essentially getting bucket after bucket after bucket. And it was weird because Denver got off to a good start and then it got, trimmed down to single digits there in the second quarter. And they picked it back up there in the second half and ended up closing it out with a W. I mean, taking a look at the, quarter-by-quarter breakdown here. Denver outscores the Clippers 29-22 in the first. Love that. Then they are pretty ugly there in the second quarter as the Clippers score 25 points to Denver's 19. But then what does Denver do in the second half? They outscore the Clippers 35-22 in the third and then 37-29 in the fourth. And so that's how you get to your 120-98 final score. But again, when Denver buys in on defense, like that is the common denominator with this team, especially when you know that they're going to struggle on offense, right? Because the offense has been totally up and down throughout the course of the season, more down than up if we're being frank, with the exception of Nikola Jokic. But when they're able to set the tone on defense, it allows them to ease into the game a little bit offensively. And that's the problem. Is like if Denver gets into a shootout, like they just don't have the roster capability to, hang in a lot of these shootout style of games, which is why they have to be a defense first team. We know what Nikola Jokic is going to bring on offense. We know that. That's a given, even though tonight he didn't have to do that. But Nikola Jokic can, put the team on his back, score 35 plus points, get 10 plus rebounds, get 10 plus assists, and keep Denver within spitting distance. But where Denver's going to be able to build confidence and build momentum for this season, in my opinion, is on the defensive side of the ball. So you want to see that continue. But like I said, this is where I get curious because we'll talk about some of the upcoming games here for the Denver Nuggets in just a moment. But how much did Jamal Murray benefit from the time off? How much did Michael Porter Jr. benefit from the time off? DeAndre Jordan, 14 minutes. That's probably a season high for him off the top of my head. It's not normal to get, 72 plus hours of rest, 4 plus days of rest before your next game. So was that maybe an underlying factor? Or is Denver, looking themselves in the mirror? We talked about it after the game against Washington where they gave them their third win of the year that, maybe there needs to be a team meeting. Maybe these guys need to get together and kind of collectively sit down and be like, what's going on? I don't know if that happened over the last few days. I don't know if some time away was beneficial, less from the rest perspective, but just kind of able to mentally reset a little bit. But tonight was encouraging, as Sarah mentioned in the comment section. Go ahead and let me know what your guys' thoughts are as well as we get ready to do our final segment here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. But whatever we saw tonight is what we need to see moving forward if this Denver Nuggets team wants to be competitive, if this Denver Nuggets team wants to have a chance to be a legitimate threat in the Western Conference playoff picture. Because while it has been a mixed bag, there's been some good, right? Oklahoma City, great win, despite having a bad loss to them. And what was that, the first game of the year? Second game of the year? They bounced back the next time they played them. You also have the Washington loss. You also have the Knick loss, right? So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Sarah also says Westbrook brings the energy 100%, 100%. And I think those guys fed off it tonight. So, and then real quick on the bench, like I said, Peyton Watson, man, I ended up meeting with a buddy of mine that was in town at halftime. And he's a diehard Nugget fan. Shout out to my boy Trey. And we were talking with him and a couple other buddies as well about the complexion of this roster. And nights like tonight is where you can kind of see the vision of Calvin Booth, right? With Peyton Watson scoring 14, he had a couple big 3-point shots. He had some good defense, zipping all. There was one play that I watched. He stole the ball on the pass and ran through and made it, a pretty acrobatic layup there at the other end. right? Like you see the vision that Calvin Booth is trying to accomplish with guys like Peyton Watson, with guys like Julian Strawther, who also had a good game. The problem is you need consistency. You absolutely, positively need consistency. So for as good as tonight was, can these guys do that more moving forward? That's going to be the championship question, for lack of a better phrase. Because if they don't, Denver's probably Hannah's going to be forced. They're going to have to make a trade. I see we've got one comment here. Zeke plus Sarge plus a first-round pick for Jonas Valanciunas. Re-sign Justin Holiday. Will be good to go after that. Justin Holiday, while he didn't play a lot last year, definitely made an impact. And we all know that Jonas Valanciunas is one of the better players that Denver has to go up against. You saw him in that game against Washington, just sitting by the free throw line, draining bucket after bucket after bucket. He could also hit the three-point shot. So, I don't know how viable that is for the Denver Nuggets, but if they could figure out a way to get a Jonas Valanciunas, that might be pretty fun because I think he'd play great alongside the rest of these guys here in the lineup. So, all right, let me hit my final break, and we'll get ready to put a bow on the show. A couple of closing thoughts on the win here tonight for the Denver Nuggets. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Drop some comments. Really appreciate everybody that is watching live as I'm live from Ball Arena after the Denver Nuggets take down the Los Angeles Clippers. Your final score, 120-98. Drop some comments. Let me know your takeaways. We'll go back and forth before we get out of here on this Friday night, a victory night for the Denver Nuggets. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel real quick, guys, because get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stat, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And guys, I'm an active FanDuel user. It's my personal favorite sportsbook. If you're not on FanDuel, what are you doing if you're trying to get some money down? And like I said, never waste a hunch with our friends over at FanDuel. Be sure to check them out. And one more time, you'll get started, new customers, with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Check out our friends over at FanDuel and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro, on a Victory Friday as the Denver Nuggets take care of business against the Los Angeles Clippers. If you're watching live, really appreciate y'all. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast live after just about each and every game throughout the course of the season. But another comment here from Sarah. She says, I'm surprised that Jokic only had 2 assists. That's crazy to me. The other stepped up on assists also, so maybe that's why. Absolutely. And like, I think that's the nice part. The silver lining in this whole game is that Nikola Jokic was like the third best player. Like, obviously his presence is felt, but it wasn't like he was stuffing the stat sheet like we're accustomed to with Nikola Jokic. So the fact that Denver was able to win in spite of Nikola Jokic not having to play like Superman tonight, I think is a really big positive for this Denver Nuggets team. Absolutely. And, look, you're going to need Nikola Jokic to step up big time, to win, go deep in the playoffs, try to contend for an NBA title, which I think they're far away from doing right now. But the fact that they were able to do it against a pretty solid team in the Clippers, a team that's given them trouble this year, they were 0-2 against the Clippers entering into this matchup, tells you something. And you know what else is interesting? I got this stat from my guy Ryan Blackburn, who you all know and love. Check him out on Twitter at NBA Blackburn. Denver was 0-5 in games where they had, I believe, was more than 48 hours of rest throughout the course of the season. So Denver has been really bad, except for tonight, in instances and games where they had, more than 24 hours of rest. They were 2-0 on back-to-back so far this year, which is not normally what you kind of come to expect, right? Rest is generally a good thing. But tonight they're able to kind of buck that trend, get their first win after multiple days of rest, which you absolutely love to see. And looking at the upcoming schedule here before we get out of here, Sacramento, Portland, New Orleans Pelicans. We got to win all 3 heading into the back-to-back versus Phoenix is what one commenter says as well. I mean, winning all 3 would be fantastic. I'm not going to slice it any other way. I'm not. But I think realistically, you want to try to win 2 of those 3. right? You should be able to likely win all 3 of those games. But if you take 2 or 3, you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and you get a little bit of a gut check moment when you take on the Phoenix Suns. So that's going to be exciting, and we'll see how Denver responds here. So, but all in all tonight, man, you got to be really pleasantly, I don't want to even say surprised, but just really happy with how Denver played tonight. You know, scoring 100-plus points, 120, getting a 13-10 on the year. The Clippers are now 14-12. And in my opinion, more importantly, holding the Clippers to under 100 points, because we know the Clippers with Norman Powell and James Harden, you know, they can run up the score. They have done it against the Nuggets throughout the course of this season. But tonight, that was not the case. So good stuff from Denver. But all right, guys, that is going to do it for me. Again, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you like the show. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Really appreciate you guys. Couple of interesting games coming up for the Denver Nuggets as we see here. Sacramento, Portland, Pelicans, and then you've got a back-to-back against the Phoenix Suns. So we're getting down to it. Yoke misses in a couple of days. Christmas is around the corner. New Year's around the corner. Trade deadline is about a month and a half away as well. So get into the meat of the season now. Really starting to figure out what the identity of this Denver Nuggets team is. But if they can play like they did tonight in a majority of their games moving forward, with more from Nikola Jokic and continued consistency from Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson, maybe they got something. Only time will tell. But all right, folks, that is it for me. Follow me on social at Media by AP. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Enjoy your Friday night. Enjoy your victory night. We'll talk to you guys after the next game on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Have a good night, folks.